Good morning, everyone. I would like to recognize that the area we call the Fraser Valley Regional District has been home to Indigenous peoples for generations. There are 31 communities with reserve lands in the FERD's jurisdiction and as many as 69 groups with interest in the area. We honor our commitment to collaboration, inclusion, and reconciliation in our work here today and call to order the March 13th meeting of the Regional and Corporate Services Committee meeting. Can we have a motion to approve the agenda and addenda?
So moved, Madam Chair.
Moved by Director Fazio, second by Director Pranger. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
4.1 is the draft Regional and Corporate Services Committee meeting minutes of February 13th, 2025.
Moved by Director Clute, seconded by Director Popov. All in favor? Motion's carried. Next item.
5.1 is a motion brought forward from Director Patty Makahonic, Electoral Area E, regarding Choose Team Canada approach in response to U.S. tariffs and buy local imperative.
All right. Director Makahonic, would you like to speak to it first since it's your...
Yes, thank you. I have a bit of a scratchy voice, so bear with me. So I think I'm going to read the motion. First of all, thank you. We all know what we're dealing with, which is a lot of uncertainty right now, but it does involve tariffs.
Oh, Director Makahonic, I thought you were just going to read it first, but do you want to put it on the table first? Move the motion?
Oh, so do I
and speak to
it? So do you want me to read it first?
Why did you just move the motion first and then you can speak to it, okay?
Okay, so I'm moving the motion, Choose Canada, Team Canada approach in response to U.S. tariffs and buy local imperative. Do you want me to read through the whole motion?
We just need a seconder. Do we have a seconder? Director Smith? All right, please go ahead, Director Makahonic.
So I originally put this forward a few weeks back, and then what we're dealing with globally, and it has impacts to all of us in everything that we do. And because I wasn't able to attend the last board meeting, and in conversation with many of the directors, I thought it was probably important that I actually attend the meeting that this motion is brought forward to. And I know that as a regional board that we all want to represent, we're all doing this because we really believe in supporting our residents. And I think this is a really good way that we can show leadership as a board and be a board that we're proud of and really support our residents and local businesses. So I'm just looking for some direction if you want me to read this whole motion out.
I don't think you need to. We've all got it in our packages and we've read it.
Okay, and then in conversation with other directors and with our CAO, Ms. Kinnaman, I have the therefore be it resolved piece, so we have got it down to something that would be easier to get behind. So.
All right. Do we have anyone else wishing to speak to this? Director Clute?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just through to staff. I'm looking for some direction on what's the time commitment with respect to our staffing going through this process.
Through the chair to Director Clute, my understanding of the action clause at the end really is just directing staff to support Canadian businesses in a general way. It's not asking us to do any particular analysis at this time in terms of changing procurement processes or analyzing precisely how much this organization might be procuring from the U.S. I can advise that our finance team was able to do some preliminary analysis around this using that forced labor reporting that was done for last year. And we estimate that it's less than 1% of all of our procurement is coming from the U.S. at this time.
Okay, thank you. And one further question, if I may. We are also getting tariffs now through China. Do we have any idea of what percentage we rely on them? Or we might not have that information handy.
Through the chair to Director Clute, I didn't come prepared to answer that
Okay,
question.
thank you.
Okay, Director Pranger?
I will be supporting this motion, but UBCM is also working on a resolution, and I would prefer to have a Team BC approach to this whole issue. I support in principle what is proposed here, but I think it would be much more effective if we all spoke as a UBCM with all of our members speaking the same voice.
Thank you. Director Horn?
Thank you. Similar to the last two speakers, definitely supportive of the general intention of the motion and the need to make a public and supportive statement of a Canada First strategy in response to what appears to be a destabilizing move by the American government. But I support the idea that we should pool our energy in identifying what are Canadian sellers. I mentioned this in the call that was sponsored by UBCM yesterday. It can be difficult to determine what a truly Canadian supplier looks like, because in some cases they're a subsidiary of an American company, or they're processing materials that have come from the Americans. And so we've asked the British Columbia government to see if they can help us assemble a list. And there wasn't time for an answer to that question yesterday, but a commitment to provide an answer to all the other questions that were left over. And so I'm hoping that we are understanding the fact that we should do what we can for now, but also that ability to act may be more fully fledged as we get information from the UBCM, FCM, and from others. And then one last thing is that FCM has produced a legal opinion, but we also were given some advice that we may need to seek some legal insight in our own instances as well. And so I think, need to proceed with some caution. Many municipalities in that call yesterday spoke of the difficulty in acquiring fire safety equipment and other equipment, and the need for us to make sure we don't slow that work. So generally supportive, but I do agree with those who said let's work together and let's gather information that makes sure we're not putting it all on our staff. Thank you.
Director Davidson?
Thank you, Chair. So the reason I wanted to join the call today was, when I was reading the motion, what occurred to me was that given the service area structure of this organization, that a Buy Canadian imperative could have literally no impact on many services, but might land quite hard on, for example, a small service area of septic or water that, for example, that might be looking, sake of argument, a 20% increase just by switching from a procurement policy that is essentially, my understanding today is it's basically most bang for your buck, to something that's a little bit different. So that was my concern coming into this, is that Ms. Kinman spoke to the 1%, but that 1% might only land on a few select heads. But so I guess my question through to staff is, I think you already spoke to it, but just for certainty, at this time, you're not expecting any changes to any procurement practices as I sit today. Is that correct?
Through the chair to Director Davidson, my understanding of the intent of the motion is that we make our best effort to support a Buy Canada approach. I have instructed all of our department managers to start really paying very close attention to all of their budgets. And if there are situations where they are seeing significant impacts to those budgets, either as a result of tariffs, or if we're choosing to purchase goods in Canada might have a negative impact on some of those service area budgets, that they need to elevate that information so that we can be prepared. So my expectation would be is if we start to see some of those kinds of cost pressures, you're going to hear about it, Director Davidson.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Facio?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support this, and I agree with the other speakers regarding we should approach this as an overall approach. But the one thing that just stands out there are many companies well, I'm guessing some of us know, but what we hear are they could be Canadian, but some parts of whatever could be coming from other parts of the world or even from the United States. So is our staff going to be put in a position here that they've got to get right down and get this right down to? I'm concerned about buy Canadian. I'm not saying we shouldn't buy Canadian. I'm a true Canadian, and let's buy everything we can and do everything we possibly can. But I'm concerned that it's where I'm coming from. I think it's going to be maybe a bit difficult to say that Fred up the road is true Canadian, yet some of his parts are coming from other parts. So I'm not sure how staff will deal with this from that perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you wish to speak to that or no?
I certainly can, Chair Ross, through you to Director Facio. I think if you wanted absolute certainty in that regard, in terms of the action clause, it could be to support Canadian businesses in a buy Canadian strategy where possible, versus just a direction that we need to do it in every instance, because I think that you're quite right. I think most of us, as we've been going through our lives in the grocery stores and various businesses that we shop in, we're seeing just how difficult it can be, and you can get down quite a rabbit hole trying to sort out whether or not those products actually are indeed Canadian. My understanding that the intention here behind the motion was for us to give us our best effort, and we're certainly prepared to do that. But indeed, it would take quite a lot of effort if we were going to start parsing through every single purchase to make absolute certainty that it was Canadian based.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No, Director Clute?
Thank you. Just through to your staff. So we've got some preamble and 8 points with this resolution before us, but the actual motion itself refers to the Buy Canadian strategy. So before I'm comfortable in voting on this, would that a lot of the preamble is with respect to the USA, but will this also look at other countries? Or are we just solely focused on inventory and supplies coming from the United States?
Yes, that's what it says.
Director Makahonic says yes. But and as I read it, I believe so.
Okay.
Just before I give the final word to Director Makahonic, I'll go next just in case you want to respond to anything that I say. First of all, I really want to thank you for bringing this forward and being on this initiative so quickly. I do think we all are very supportive of this. I do wonder if we need all these whereases, if we could cut them down, because things are changing so quickly. For example, it refers to Prime Minister Trudeau, which isn't going to be that as of, I think it's tomorrow, or is it today? Tomorrow. And the first whereas talks about the 25% tariffs on Canadian exports, but that could also change tomorrow too. So I'm just wondering if, first of all, if we could cut that down. But Director Horn is correct. We're both on that call with the UBCM, and the provincial government encouraged us doing initiative like this, but they also encouraged us to get legal advice. That was also before Will Cole Hamilton, who's on the FCM, identified that, the FCM has sent out a paper, which I think you all got. I sent you all of that. It's slightly different than our actual resolution. So and as has been identified, the UBCM is going to be making some recommendations to communities. So I am just wondering myself too, if we should hold off until we get that, because I want to make sure that we get this right. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Director Makahonic, do you want to go?
Yes, thank you. Till my mute's off. Yes. So again, it's our best effort. I think it's important that we show leadership, and that I think our residents are are looking to us in these times. And I think by showing leadership, I think the intent is general. I also have been monitoring everything as well. And I was in a meeting with rural directors across the province the day before the meeting that you attended. And I think that it's important that we do both, that we do the UBCM piece and that we do a regional piece. And if we keep it, I feel that if we keep it general enough and that we should not run into any legal implications. And I mean, staff have already said it's 1%. And I think our staff, we have very good staff that are professional and they do the due diligence in all of their quotes and research in their buying. So I think we can kind of count on that. And then just something that I hear a lot of, people talking about it's going to cost more and it's going to cost more if we're doing other things other than American. But I mean, just as a personal shopper, I have to say that, yes, it's taken a little more time in that, but I have found personally that I'm finding some very good quality and items that I was not aware of that are Canadian made and grocery items as well that are cost effective and very good quality that I would not have been aware of if I wasn't actually shopping with an eye to buy Canadian. So there is that as well. We may actually find cost savings as well. There could be that. So just to keep that in mind. And I just want to also let everyone know how much I appreciate that how we all show up and we all are doing the best and every time we come to that table and making these kinds of decisions takes humbleness and it takes bravery and I appreciate all of you for having those attributes as we come together to make these decisions. So I think this is the kind of work that we all sign up for so that we can really truly represent our residents in the best way possible. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Director Makahonic. Seeing no other speakers, I will call Director Smith.
Yes, I believe that the target's moving so quickly in the States now. No matter what we do next week, there'll be something changed again. It's really tough right now. I think we're just sending a general message out here that, I agree with the wording, like in Trudeau takes things like this, so it's a little more general. But the fact is, we just want to show the leadership that we're, and she is right. When you go to buy something, you start looking at it and you're surprised where it comes from. I mean, if we have 10 pumps, we'll say in the same in one of our facilities, we're not going to go buy a Canadian one because all the parts in that wouldn't fit. I mean, we got to leave that discretion to our staff. But I think it's a start and move from there because I know this is going to change like next week.
Thank you, Director Horn.
Yes, I hesitated before I thought of speaking here on this, but I just wanted to be clear because I think a few folks have raised the question about the whereases. But I think just as a perhaps pertinent point of order, the whereases in this case aren't part of the motion. They're just, not to minimize them, they're Director Makahonic's perspectives. This isn't like a resolution that we're sending off to UBCM where the whereases are included. Director Clute asked whether the policy would apply to China or elsewhere. When you get to the enacting clause, it just says buy Canadian. So the effect of that would be broad on any type of tariffing from any other trading partner. And I think it's important, and the reason I'm speaking to it is not only for clarity around the table, but if media are paying attention, the whereases are the movers' whereases. We are not necessarily voting for the exact same reasons in support of this. And I just wanted to be clear about that. That portion of things is individual in this case.
Chair Ross, just to answer that question, the motion that was received included the whereases. So the motion that you're voting on does actually include all of the whereases as well as that action clause at the end.
Thank you for that clarification. Director Clute.
Sorry, through to the staff. Thanks for that clarification. I guess my question is, do we need all those whereas clauses in order, or can we go with the action clause as a simple resolution?
I would be fine with the action clause. Sorry if I'm speaking out of turn. Because it's the intent is what I think all of us, I think maybe for a little bit of different reasons, but basically the intent is what we're looking for. Thank you.
Do we need a friendly amendment to the motion then?
Well,
Or
Not a friendly amendment, but my suggestion would be if you wanted to amend it, you would just strike the whereases and you have a mover and a seconder to that effect.
Okay, do we have a mover and a seconder to amend that? Moved by Director Pranger, second by Director Clute. All in favor? No one speaking to the amendment? Sorry, Chris and Sylvia,
sorry.
did you want to speak to the amendment? Director Pranger? No,
Yes, please.
to the amendment?
Thank you.
Yes.
I just think it adds clout without muddying the waters.
Okay.
And I would be much more supportive of just the therefore be it resolved. Then I think it sends the message that we're definitely looking at supporting our Canadian economy as opposed to other economies that want to do harm to Canada. So I think from my perspective, it's the right move.
Thank you. Director Clute.
Thank you. Just briefly to that, I would agree. I think with the whereas clauses, we are signaling out one specific trading partner. And in this case, if we go with the action clause, therefore be it resolved, that clause, it simply gives instruction to pursue a Canadian, buy Canadian strategy. And I'm comfortable with that. Thank you.
All right, I will call the question. All those in favor of the amendment? Any opposed? No, motion's carried. So I'll call the question on the amended motion. All in favor? Anyone opposed? None opposed. Unanimous. All right, thank you. All right, next item, please.
6.1 is board direction on updates to the FVRD board and committee procedures bylaw.
I move, Madam Chair.
Well, I think they need direction. Do you need direction? You need direction on there's quite a few different options in this report.
Sure. I mean, if you want to just get it on the floor for discussion and then we could go from there, or if you want to just have the discussion and then move the different options, that's fine as well.
Just put it on the floor for discussion, Madam Chair.
All right, Director Facio, seconded by Director Dickey. All right, discussion, please.
Thank you.
Director Dickey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the voting issue, I would like to move option 2, which would, let's see if I can bring that up. Will allow for 2 rounds of votes followed by a draw of name by lot.
All right, do we have a seconder? Director Horn, are you seconding it or are you speaking to it? Both? All right. Did you want to speak to it first, Director
No,
Dickey,
that's
as the
fine.
mover? No, you're good. All right, Director Horn.
I support this one. I think it's fine. I won't add comments to it, but we do have to talk. I'll get you to circle back to me, Madam Chair, on the second item here regarding meeting times later on. That one I will need to make a comment about.
All right. So I just want to be clear because the motion was to provide direction. So is the specific direction that we're talking about here part of the conversation? Will that form part of the motion for direction? Okay. Just wanted to be clear.
Why don't we have Jamie speak to this item? Thanks.
we do have a mover and a seconder putting the item on the floor for discussion. And then what we would do is incorporate that direction from the committee into the motion
Okay.
for final voting at the end.
Okay,
Keeping in mind that this still does go to the board for final voting and discussion.
thanks. I just wasn't sure because there's different items there. I wasn't sure if we needed different motions for the, so we don't need that.
No, we're happy to just take that
Okay.
as direction.
All right, any other comments or questions on that direction? No? All right, and so the second item. All right, I'm just scrolling down to that. About, oh yes, the meeting start times. Director Horn?
Thank you. I'd like to move on this one. I guess we should probably clear the item that's on the floor. There was no debate on it. So if maybe we should deal with that particular item and then I'll make a motion related to the meeting times.
I understood from Ms. Van Ness that can you clarify to me? Because I just I thought your direction was we didn't need two separate motions.
Correct. You can just pass one motion and we'll incorporate that direction.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds good. Great. When it comes to the meeting times one, and I know Abbotsford is affected similarly, the daytime options on the Thursdays that are proposed conflict significantly with our joint shared sewer committee. So that would automatically have very significant impacts. And for me, again, the earlier option, the 9 a.m. option, conflicts with a regular meeting I have. And I'm simply saying by those are examples I think of that are probably going to be similar for many others. With that in mind, I would move that we look at new meeting dates at the beginning of the next term of the board.
Okay. Yes, but I think staff are looking at direction for us to determine, because we could say, okay, let's have daytime meetings starting now, but one of the options was that we determine the start time now, but that it wouldn't take effect until after the next election. Is that what you're saying?
I'm open to either of those, whether the time is set at the initial meeting of the newly elected board in October of 2026, or I guess it may be November, or whether we set the date now. I'd be certainly open to either of those, but I do think it will be a very difficult ball of wool to untangle if we try to change the actual meeting time and date right now. I don't have a preference for either of those two approaches as long as they start in 2026. And I think it will be difficult for us to make commitments for people who maybe are successors.
Yeah, for me, I just think it would be better to say now, this is what the meeting start time will be then, because anybody running for election needs to know what the time commitment is, whether it's day or evening, so that they know whether they can even run for election, whether they're able to fulfill those commitments in that time slot. So if they know in advance what it's going to be, but it's so letting the new board decide that, I guess it wouldn't be fair to the people who run thinking that it was going to be an evening meeting.
Speaking from experience in Mission and at the risk of a back and forth here, I think that if we did that, it would still be quite possible for people to come in on the very first meeting and ask for a revision of those times. And that's exactly what I've seen happen on our local council. So in any event, I'm open to either of setting a time now, and I've said my piece, but I do think it needs to be enacted with the next board.
Okay, Director Fazio?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm of the opinion that we should, as we have the RACS meetings at 10 o'clock, seems to work very well, that the board meetings should be at 10 o'clock and starting next month, as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. But I don't think we need a secondary, correct?
Chair Ross, we're looking for feedback, and I think on this one, we might find that the committee has a difference of opinion. So this might actually be one where we would want to get a vote on, but maybe let's hear what the general feedback is from some of your other speakers, and then we could separate out those discussions. Yeah.
All right. Director Clute?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My thoughts on this, I won't speak for the people who are coming from the greatest distance, but I believe the 1 p.m. Time frame would probably be more advantageous to those coming from a greater length to get here. And also with respect to the public who may want to speak in any of the hearings, the opportunity to have part of the afternoon off rather than the morning or whatever, I think makes more sense. As for starting it immediately versus starting at the next term, I would be in favor of starting right away, but I could be persuaded to wait till the next term once I hear my fellow directors speak to this. So those are my thoughts.
Director Wardenberg?
Yeah, just on my perspective, I would agree for the 10 o'clock morning meeting to start right away. That would be my preference, but I'm open to anything. Very much.
Thank you. Director Johnson?
Here I am, I think.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I don't have a vote. I recognize that. I just wanted to comment that yes, coming from the north end, in the winter, whoever is director at the time would have to be leaving there at 7 a.m. and it certainly is still dark. And one wouldn't really know the condition of the roads if they had been plowed or not. So the 1 p.m. would be more ideal, or even 10 a.m. Just factoring in the winter hours and lack of light. Thank you.
Director McElhannock and then Director Castle.
Thank you. So I remember when I first started and the times were laid out and then it wanted to be changed, and I was working, and it absolutely would have created a conflict. So I think I think it's really critical that whatever we decide to do, that that we give notice, so that current directors can accommodate any schedules that they have, and that regardless of that, that it is whatever the schedule is, that it's put in before the election, so that people, and it's kind of reiterating, but that people know if they can run or not, if that's going to work for schedules. Because I mean, I kind of had a panicky moment when I was a new director, and then they were saying, okay, well, we're going to change it. We're thinking of changing it, and it really wouldn't have worked. So I think just really being cognizant of making sure we're inclusive of everyone's schedules as much as we can be. And so, because I think every voice at this table, is an important voice. So that's my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Castle?
Thank you, Chair Ross. I agree with Director Horn that any changes that we decide to make need to start at the beginning of the next term. For those of us who do have other commitments outside of this room, changing the schedule for next month doesn't work. And whatever time we agree to, I'm just, for the record, opposed to a 9 a.m. start time.
Thank you. All right, Director Pranger?
I too think a 9 a.m. for most of the directors would be difficult if they're driving any distance. I do support a 10 o'clock start. For me, it doesn't matter if it's next month, but for the sake of others, maybe they require more time and would be open to that as well.
Thank you. Director Davidson?
Thank you. Just picking up on Director McElhannock's comments. Yeah, midday start does increase the likelihood of work conflicts for me that are challenging. I'm also wondering, is it perhaps something to consider reaching out to directors individually via some sort of survey. What are their preferences? Also have Director Horn's comments in mind about, a new board could turn around and change the schedule on day one anyway. So I think to some extent we sort of need to live in the moment. But I think you also need to canvass basically everybody on the board to get there if you're going to do any kind of change. Thank you.
Director Siemens?
Thank you. I'm in favor of the status quo. Just speaking from my perspective at the City of Abbotsford, my days are pretty jam-packed. So an evening meeting is much more suitable. The challenge, like even for this meeting, I had such a packed day that I couldn't, get there in person. So I think the technology's improved. So I understand that those that have to come from a greater distance, especially in the winter, I hopefully the technology would and they would be able to stay in place and not have to travel on treacherous roads and going back at night. I get that. But I think just even for those that want to come and speak to anything, evening meetings in this regard seem to make, I think, a better use of everybody's time. But that's just my opinion. And if we do decide to change, I would hope that it would be at the beginning of the next term so people could prepare well in advance. So thank you.
Thank you. Director Adamo, you haven't spoken yet, sorry.
Thanks for allowing me to participate. I agree with Director Siemens that, and Director Castle as well, that I'm fine either way. The 10 a.m. start is the better start for me personally. My calendar is done for the entire year, well in advance. So this would have to be something that I would encourage all to support for a change. If the change is required, that it be in the next term and that we continue on with the rest of this year as is. That's just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. Director McEhonick, your hand is no longer up, so I'm assuming you don't wish to speak after all. All right. So how's that? Clear as mud?
Super. So Chair Ross, I think what I'm hearing is that generally this committee feels that if there were to be any changes, it should take effect with the next board term. But what I feel that I'm hearing is a bit of a split between what would be a preferred 10 a.m. start and a 1 p.m. start. So I'm not sure if we've got enough to work on to bring back some changes for the bylaw. I'm getting yes from our corporate officer, so we can certainly bring some things forward for the board's consideration, but wouldn't be until the next board term.
Okay. A recommendation for us to make the changes now to take effect the next board term? Okay,
That's correct.
okay. Director Horn, you put your hand down, so you're good. All right, so we've got direction on that one. We have one more item. They're just housekeeping amendments. I'm assuming everyone's all right with those. Any conversation on that? Director Davidson.
Thank you. Just on the publication of FERD agendas, publishing on the Friday before a Thursday regular or closed meeting is perfect. But if for whatever reason those meetings had to be advanced to a different day of the week, I'm still looking for essentially that 6-day lead time. So rather than say Friday before a regular open or closed meeting, I'd prefer to see something which basically says 6 calendar days or words to that effect.
Ms. Van Ness, did you wish to?
Sure. Through the chair to Director Davidson, in the odd time where we are holding a meeting that's on a Thursday, the previous direction from the board was to issue the agendas on a Friday to accommodate the board with many days to review the agenda in advance of the meeting. But in those cases where, say, we have a meeting on a Tuesday, we still try and publish them in advance. Like we don't always stick to the Friday publication date. That we do try and kind of bump that up a little bit to give the board or committee additional days to review the agenda.
Right, understood. But the housekeeping amendment says that provide a copy of all board or committee agendas on the Friday. I get it that staff are trying, but I'd be concerned about a meeting on a Tuesday, you don't see the agendas until Friday. That creates a challenge, I think, for me in terms of community engagement consultation. So I'm just looking for that lead time to be reflected in whatever amendment comes forward.
Sure, certainly staff can take that and incorporate that into the draft bylaw that would be coming forward in a future meeting.
Could we maybe get some feedback from the committee if that's the expectation that every agenda is published 6 calendar days in advance?
Anyone have an issue with that? No? Director Clute?
Just through to staff, when I heard the corporate officer speaking, it sounds like that is the practice today anyway. So from your end, you don't see it being a challenge to have the wording as 6 days or 6 calendar days prior to the meeting?
Through the chair to Director Clute, that is certainly our practice. It does create, it is challenging sometimes to provide that much advance notice. However, that is the current direction of the board, but it can be challenging at times with deadlines to provide that much advance publication of agendas.
Director Horn?
I just wanted to speak in support of what I heard Ms. Van Ness say a moment ago, and I'm a tiny bit concerned about tying staff's hands if getting out a quality and thorough agenda is adversely affected by that requirement. And I don't know whether there's wiggle room. And so I do have, I see what our staff at the city go through in trying to get out an agenda when it's a really meaty one. And sometimes that literally results in a 1-month delay just because they are, if a few more hours to get something prepared would have been the difference between a month of dealing with it, dealing with it in the real time versus in a month.
All right. I think we have enough direction. Just wanted to confirm with you. All right. I will call the question on the motion then. All in favor?
Can we have that motion read out again?
Well, no, there wasn't a motion on a start time. The motion was to provide direction to staff. And I think they have a general idea of the direction that we're giving.
So then it will come back to the board with the bylaw at a future date.
Yep. All right. All right, all in favor? None opposed? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item, please.
7.1 is the 2024 to 2028 financial plan bylaw amendments.
We have a mover on that motion. Director Clute, second by Director Popov. Any discussion? No, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
8.1.1 is the Trans Mountain Tower Site License Agreement for Sumas Mountain Regional Park.
Do we have a mover? Moved by Director Castle, second by Director Horn. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion's carried. Next item.
8.2.1 is the BC Transit North of Fraser Public Engagement. And I would just note for the committee that staff have been working. Thank you to Director Wardenberg for noting that some of the dates conflict with the LMLGA conference. And so staff have been working with BC Transit to move those dates so that they don't conflict.
Excellent.
And we will let you know the confirmation of those dates as soon as possible.
Great, thank you. Any Director Castle?
Yeah, thank you. And when there's shareable materials for those, if those can be sent out to the North Fraser directors, just so that we've got the materials to share with our networks, that'd be great. Thank you.
Director Horn?
Ditto, if we can get those so I can help our communications department to help ensure that those messages get sent out. We'd like to support the engagement process.
Great. Thank you. All right, next item.
Moving down to reports by directors.
Anyone? Looks like we're good. Next item.
And public question period for items relevant to the agenda. And we'll just turn things over to Lauren Olenek.
Thank you, Ms. Kinnaman. We do not have any members of the public joining us in person or online today, and we have not received any written correspondence.
All right, and we just need a motion to close the meeting.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Director Facio, seconded by Director Wardenberg. All in favor? Motion's carried. Director McConick, your